Hello explorers and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna do some coding and it's actually prompted by Brandon Graham who wrote in the comment section, I would love to see you possibly live coding a tutorial for something like this. And this refers to a video I did answering a question about how to connect your application to Firebase and use Firebase authorization to authenticate one of your backend APIs. And in order to explain this and go from a working solution, an application which has a login form, to something that is using Firebase, I built this thing. I think it's going to be the next big thing actually. So this is the social network superstars for all of us. So this application has some main features. You can log in. So let's log in with Roger and password. And here we see Roger and his profile information. We have some ads over here, and we also can look at some messages. So we can look at what Roger wrote, and Christina and Tom and so on. And if we change user and log in with Stina, then we will see her profile instead, and still will I be able to read the messages. And the thing that I have been actually really focusing on is the login function. So if we switch over to code mode here and we go back and we check in at the login feature, then we pretty much have this Iron Ajax here where we connect to login on our backend server. We do a post operation with some JSON content. We get some JSON back and we'll save that in session data. And we will use credentials so we can see if we have already logged in or not, if there is a cookie or not, because I will use cookies for this. I create some paper inputs and a paper button with login with email and password as the name of the function. And later down here we have this login with email and password. I set the body, I generate a request, and if the session data comes back as changed, I take the login cookie of the session data and create a cookie for that. And I also implemented the Logout function in the application, and that's pretty much connects to the server. So it's this log out, also with the content type JSON, and get JSON back, and has a handler on response. And it's pretty much just a on click listener, and it doesn't send any data out, but it will expire the cookie, and when the response gets back, it will send you back to the login page. And yeah, let's look at the server. I will set some information in the beginning here, and this is just to allow the server to actually talk to the client, because the client can't talk to the server due to restrictions of course and so on. If you don't explicitly say that you allow credentials, you allow a specific origin, and you allow specific headers. So those I add up here. And then I add the body parser, so I will parse the body of the JSON that is sent to the server. And I also have the cookie parser, so I will parse all the cookie values. And these are npm install, so you install body parser, cookie parser, and crypto. And then in one of the first functions that I run, I actually retrieve the login cookie and set a value for that, and then send the application on to the next part of the functionality. So for all requests, I will go through and actually fetch the login cookie. So the login procedure is pretty simple as well. I set up this very elaborate secret. I will create a hash for the hash for the password as a SHA-256. I will read the file with all the profiles, and those actually have the password in them as a SHA. So this is what I will check against if I actually have a logged in user. And then I will parse the JSON data of that file. I will go through each of them, check if I have a username that is the same as the name of the body and a password that is the same as the hash. If I do have that, I will create a new login cookie. And that login cookie, I will save the profile into memory as that login cookie. So if I restart the server, nobody is logged in. And if I remove it from the profiles in memory, then the profile will not be logged in either. So this has some drawbacks and some positive things. If I have them in memory, I don't need to go to disk and fetch them every time when I want to present them. But if we actually have another application that talks to the backend server, I will not have the latest information. So if you have any means of changing data in another way, then you should not use this feature. You should have either go back to the database and check that you haven't had any changes, or have some other caching strategy. And when I have done that, I will return with a login cookie if the status was logged in. Otherwise, I will return with wrong credentials and nothing will be logged in. And the logout is pretty much clear that cookie that profile value and return with an OK, and status not found if we actually log out a user that isn't logged in at the moment. And messages is pretty simple. I just fetch a JSON and return that back so we can see all these messages. So that's the server today and the front end as I implemented it. And rest is just some CSS and Polymer components to actually make the GUI. So how do we actually improve this and add the feature of Firebase? So we can use those in conjunctions. So I have set up a profile at Firebase and got the login credentials for that profile, so I can start using that right away. So in my profile page, because the first thing I want to do is actually add the functionality to connect a Twitter account with one of the accounts that I have in the database. So here I will add my Firebase app with Superstars app and an auth with a user and a provider. I will say Twitter at this point. And this is pretty much what I talked about in the talk that I had earlier with the question. So if you haven't seen that and wonder how to set up which different Firebase auth functionality or different rules you have, then go back and check that video and I will explain it more in detail there. And in order to use these, you need to actually import the Bower component Polyfire. So, and in Polyfire you will have these extra values, these extra packages. So now I can add from Polyfire the Firebase app. So those I will add up here as import. So the Firebase app is an HTML in Polymer Fire, and also the Firebase auth is something that I need. And then we need a button. So we will go down here and at the bottom of the profile we will add a button. Let's just take a button from the login page just for laziness, and this will be sign up with Twitter. Sign up with Twitter. and we can say sign up with Twitter on that button as well. Maybe we can find a better naming for this later on, but down in my little component here, I will create this ES6 method in my ES6 polymer element class, and here I will add the functionality we talked about earlier, sign in with pop-up, which is a function that will return a response, and this response will have an actual cookie that I can use to log in that user. And in order to do that, I will actually take this response and return response, and then add an extra then clause here. Sorry, actually not like that. I want to do this. So here, if we get a response, this is what I want to return. So this is also from the talk I had. I want to return an auth. For this auth object, I want to return, and I think we need to bind this as well with this, so we actually get the value. And then if I return that from the current user, and in this case I think auth doesn't have a property named current user anymore, it's called user, I will get a token from that user that has been logged in with Twitter, and then I can go down here and have an extra then clause in with a new promise, and this then clause will have the ID token returned, and this is what I actually want to send on to the server. So this seems like functional, I guess. So now we need to add another Ajax with the credentials here. So in this case, I don't want to send a profile, I want to sign up, and just call it like that, and we can have the sign up Ajax, and we will handle that as JSON. We also need to add the content type JSON and posts method, otherwise we will not send the correct data to the server. And I think we should not, let's see here, we should not handle the response as a last response. I think we should have on response instead. Response. And let's say sign up the response, just so we can take that value and output it. Let's just do a console log for the moment. So we response, so we can see what we actually get back from the server. So here we need to build the body of this, do a bind. This, and I said sign up Ajax body, and this body should actually be, let's say we have a sign up token here, and that is the ID token that we want to send to the server, and we also want to generate the request for this sign up Ajax. Generate request. So we have done a lot of things now. We are in the front end. We have actually added Firebase auth with the import up here. With we added a handle error function as well. Let's put that down here too. So we will output this error if we get anything back there. Sorry, And so we added these, and we said that we wanted to add the provider of Twitter. So you will log in with Twitter, you will get a user back, and then we down here we added a button that we could sign up with Twitter with. And last but not least, we did a sign up with pop-up. So we will get that pop-up. We will look for this user and get the token for that user. And this true value is that we always want to get a new token from the server, so we don't get any cached information. And this promise, we will return this token, which also is a promise, and we will handle that promise down here and fetch this ID token and send this token with the signup Ajax body as a signup token, and we will generate a request and send that over to our server. So this is the front end we need to do in order to sign up. So let's go into our index.js now, and we'll create that sign up function. So we go here, we do a sign up, just call it sign up. This in turn need to have some functionality to it. So let's copy that. So this is what I showed in the earlier presentation. So these lines up here, I want to actually put them further up, and the initialization I want to add at the start of the server as well, so that everything is initialized and ready for me when I want to start. So this Firebase admin is something that I need to add. So we'll terminate my server here and npm install Firebase admin. So it will look for that. And here I need my database name. So I have that in my let's see here. Didn't I have Firebase name, database URL, and must be this, right? So let's get back here and remove that. So, and this file is actually something that I put in C:temp superstars, I believe. So I will look at this if I have if I have put that in the wrong spot. So let's see here. Here we will need to authenticate this token. So in order to do that, we will need to fetch that token from our request. So the request body sign up token is what we want to put in here. And that will verify that token and decompose that token and actually give us the UID back. But we also, in this case, want to check that we are actually logged in. So we need to do the logic that we have up here, that we check that the login cookie is actually set, and that there is actually a profile with that name. And if there is, then everything is fine and dandy. Let's do a console log error here as well, so we get all the errors that we need. You should never have too few errors, or at least too few error logouts. It's much easier to check if you have done the right thing. So if we have logged in here, what do we want to do then? And we have this UID. Then we want to find that profile and we want to save the information to that profile and save it back to disk, so we actually have that UID saved in the profile's JSON, so we can use it later for retrieval. And here I have the lookup function that I had earlier, and that's a lot of code actually. So I think I will break this out into a new function. Let's go here and the function add token to profile. Let's call it that. So this is the data we want to go through. We want to look at the data and we will check if the profile we have here. So I will actually give it the profile, and if that profile's username and let's say password is the same, so we will check both. Password probably not required to check both of those. If those are the same, then we want to actually go back and write his UID to the account. So UID, we need that too. Is there anything else that we will require inside of this function? No, I don't believe so. And the login cookie is already set, so we will just have some status message here. Well, let's say that everything went a-okay if we are done here. So let's just return that. So now I need some more code. I need some code to actually save the file as well. If everything is fine and dandy, so let's do that here. And actually we want to do that after we have done the for loop. And yeah, actually if we don't have any correct credentials, we actually just save the data again, so we will actually just read some data and save some data, and that's fine in my opinion, when we don't do any actual changes. So let's go here and say that JSON data is what we want to save back, and we want to JSON stringify JSON data, because this will take strings when we want to save something. And if nothing is wrong, then we say saved new profile information. Saved UID to profile information. So there we go. And if we have found this profile, then we want this JSON data to actually include the UID as well. So let's just call that UID, and we'll set UID to that property. So this will probably save the data back to the database. I haven't done anything outrageous. So let's go here and actually do like that. And we also need to send the profile. So this is the actual profile that we want to add the profile to. So this is the code. Shall we do a test run? Let's do a recap. We actually created this endpoint with the post command. So we'll take a post on a sign up. We will check that the login cookie is set, so we are logged in. We will check that we have an actual profile that we can add the sign up token to, and we will use the auth method of the admin function and verify the ID token that we get back from Firebase. And if we get an OK from Firebase, it will give us a decoded token That decoded token's UID we will send to this add token to profile with the profile that we want to add the UID to. And in the add profile, we will read the profile's JSON. We'll go through all of them, check that we have the same username and password for the profiles inside of the database. And then we will add that UID to that account. If we have anything else that is a unique identifier for the user, we could use that instead, because we have all the profile information in memory as well as in the file, so we just need to match those. And actually username is unique, so I could have used that. And when we have done this, we just want to write the profile information back to disk and print out that we have saved the profile information correctly, and we also send a status OK back to the front end. So now the big moment of truth. Have I written everything correct, or have I done anything wrong? Probably something wrong. Let's see. So let's log out, because we know that Stina is now logged out because we have restarted the server. So let's log in Stina 123. Very elaborate password, and it seems like we have done something wrong in the front end, because we don't get the profile page. So I will open the developer tools here and see what I actually have written wrong. And it's on line 137. So let's go there and check. And it doesn't like this because yeah, I had one parenthesis too much. So parentheses. So it couldn't find him. So let's try that. Now we have the profile. And we have the button sign up with Twitter. So let's press that one. We will get the pop-up. And I'm signed in with Twitter, so it will actually just say everything is okay and send that over to the server. And I get in my developer console that I did a bad request to the sign up. So what was bad about this request, I wonder? Let's see if we get some more information from the npm. We did. So let's open this up a bit more. Firebase auth error. So let's see, console log error as well. Missed a place where we should put an error. That's no good. And we try again. Try again. So let's see here. A given sign-in provider is disabled for this. Yeah, of course. So that's actually something good with the Firebase auth, that you need to go into their backend on the authentication, and on the sign up in methods you must enable which sign up methods that you want to use. So in my case, I had enabled Gmail during testing, but I haven't enabled Twitter yet. And an API key is required for Twitter. So that's no good. So let's use Google then, because Google is something that I actually have set up and doesn't require anything extra. So let's go back here and change the provider to Google. So, and we go back to Superstars. I think we should change the sign up with Google and perhaps this function as well. Google. So we just do the right thing as we have written. So sign up with Google, it will look for my account and do the sign up. So let's see if this will improve things. And let's check the developer. Did I close that? No, there it is. Get token of null. So we actually got here, but we didn't have the user here. So we sign up with pop-up, and we actually have the auth variable here. So let's do this and see what's on the auth object. They say there should be a user. So, okay. Now we actually got the value back for some reason. Very strange. Why did it suddenly work? That's just not logical. Let's log out and check the server. It actually crashed here, so we did something wrong in the backend. So where did we go wrong? On line 80 we did something wrong. Because res is not defined. Yay. But does that actually mean that the profiles were updated? Seem like it. And we actually got no profiles, so that's no good. So let's take those back and try it again. And let's see, we go to the server, and here there's res is not defined in here, so we will actually need to add res to the add profile as well. So easy to forget to have all the variables, and that's what testing are for, to find all your flaws. Let's log in with Stina again. See if we can connect now with Google. So there we got an actual sign up response. If I check here, the response was okay. And if we look in our profiles, we have actually a UID for my user inside of the profiles JSON. So I think the sign up flow now is done. So now we need to do the login, and that's pretty much the same thing. So let's go to the profile, and we will take everything we have here, sign up with Google, copy that over and go into my login. And here we will have a login with Google. We do the same thing with the pop-up. We fetch the token, which we need. And in this case, we will do the login Ajax body instead. So we will use the same request as we have up here, and we will send it a login token. We can have a login Firebase token, just to be very clear about what token we got. So that we will send to the login. Now we just need the button. So let's add an extra button up here. Login with Google. Let's print that out. Login with Google. And of course, we also need all the extra things in the profile. We need to also copy the code up here with auth. And you could structure a code differently and have all of these in a global file or something that you actually import, or you could have it in your main application and then send some of the values down. But for simplicity, I'm just adding them to the code. For this demo, I'm not that into structuring my code. At the moment, I'm just doing a simple demo and showing how you could do the login processing. So the login is pretty much the same as the sign up. We just send the information to a different place. So we will add this Firebase app and Firebase auth, and we will send those to the login IX. So the same endpoint as we used before. We could use different endpoints, and that would make things pretty much a little bit easier, I think. So we have this login with Google, and we do the same here. Sign up with pop-up, get the token, send the token with login Firebase token to the login IX. So let's go back to the server and check our login page here. So here we need to do some changes, because we can actually get either a body with a password and a username, or we could get this login Firebase token. So let's see here what we need to do. We need to first check if the request has a body and a login Firebase token. Then we should do something, and otherwise we should prepare the hash, and so we can check that later on. Else we do that. And I think that the authentication that we need down here actually requires that we have a function to make this easier. So let's do function login with a hash and a name. So we will have the hash and the name that we want to verify. So let's move this up here, and we will also need to add this res, so we don't forget that we want to send a response. So this is pretty much all that is required. Down here we will add the hash, and we will also check the name up here. So that's something that we want to change. And I also think that this middle function here where everything is okay, I want to move that into a if authorized. We'll do that. So if we will return here, just so we don't send anything else. And up here we do var authorized false, and then we will set that to true here if we have a correct username. And we will also check here if UID is the same as the hash. So first off, if name is undefined, name is not undefined, then we will do the password username check. Else we will check the UID if that's the same as the hash, and just to be sure we check that UID actually exists, and if any of those, then it's authorized, and we will set the login cookie and return logged in. Otherwise we will return the wrong credentials. So I think that's pretty much what we need to do up here. So down here, if we have a Firebase token, we will send that over to the function, and no name, because that should be something that is not. No, we have forgotten or I have forgotten a thing up there, but I will come to that soon. So down here, see if I can get this aligned. Here we want to send the name last, and before that we want to send the hash. So that this is correct, but this up here is not correct, because we need also to take the code from down here with the admin auth, as we had before, where we verified the token, because this is actually a clear token that is sent from the server, and those tokens doesn't actually have the UID, it has the login token. So in here, when we have decoded the token, we will send that UID through to the login function instead. So that's how we try to do this. So let's recap here. We sent a login Firebase token to the login endpoint from the login page. And if we come here and there is a login Firebase token, we will go in here and we will verify that token, get the decoded token, and send that over to our login function with the decoded token and response object. And if not, we will actually take our super secret, we will hash the password and send the password hash and the request body name over to our login function. And the login function over here will read the profile data. We will parse the JSON data. We will set a false flag for authorized. So everything is not authorized as where we start. We'll go through the JSON data. And if we have a name defined, then we will check the username and password. And if they are correct, we will authorize the user. And if not, the name is defined, or if we don't find any username, we will check if the UID is defined and if the hash is the same as the UID. So I see here that we have a bug, because name need to be undefined down here, right? So that could have gone really wrong if we actually check the UID when the name was not defined, and for some odd reason the password hash 256 collided with our own hash, or the UID from Firebase collided with our own hash. I think that is very unlikely, but it could happen. And then we set the authorized to true as well. And if authorized is true, we will check if the login cookie is undefined. Then we will define it as this hash, which is either UID or the password hash. And we will add some extra math random, and we will get the digest hex of that. And we will set the profile cookie with that login and send the login cookie back. So there is room for improvement to do this even more secure, but I think it shows how to use the Firebase authentication library at least. So let's go back to the Superstar homepage. We will need to restart our server. So let's start it up again, and hopefully we haven't done any typos. We will log out, and now let's try login with Google and see what happens. If we have done anything wrong, we did something wrong, of course. So here we don't have the secret. So that is something that is required, you say? Of course it is. Of course you do. So let's do like this. We set the secret up here because it's very super secret, so shouldn't be that far down in the code. So let's go back to the application again. We will start our server again, like that, and log in with Google. Let's try that. And we are logged in as Stina. So the last part was pretty much correct. And I think we will try as well, just for completeness, try to log in as Roger with login and password and see that that still works. So we haven't broken the old login. So now our users can migrate from their login username way of logging in to this more newer or another way of logging in, perhaps a little bit more convenient, using their Google profile, and we could add Twitter profile if we want, or GitHub profile, and so on. So that was what I wanted to go through today. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you found this interesting. If you have any questions at all, please hit me up in the comment sections. And until next time, I hope you have a really good day.